Well, hey friends, I am here today with a little bit of a different episode. I've got a lot of things going on in my life, and so I thought it would be fun to just do a life updates episode where I just share what's been going on with me and my family and the ministry. And so just kick back, relax, and get ready to hear some life updates. If you're tired of living with shame and guilt and want simple steps to heal, find peace, and feel less alone after abortion, you are in the right place. Hey, I'm Brittany, wife, homeschooling mom of two, abortion recovery coach, and pro-life speaker. I learned the secret of how to find healing and redemption from my past. Spoiler alert, it's Jesus. If you're ready for tactical post-abortion healing tips, biblical truth, and strategies for grieving forward, then this podcast is for you. Let's crack open that Bible and get ready to receive the good news. Friend, I want to personally invite you into my Abortion Recovery Roadmap course and group coaching program. This is a guided faith-based healing journey for the woman who knows Jesus, but still feels stuck in guilt, shame, grief, or emotional numbness after abortion. This is a step-by-step roadmap that helps you finally stop running and start healing with God. Enrollment is open right now, and so you can go to brittanypoppe.com/roadmap. That's BRITTANYPOPPE.com/roadmap to learn more and join us right now. Okay, before we get into the episode, I have a favor to ask. If you haven't left a review for the podcast yet, I would be so grateful if you would do that. I'm going to read you 2 recent reviews that the podcast has gotten in Apple Podcasts. So the first one is our newest top fan. His name is Joey, and he titled his review, "Pure Lies and Religious-Based Indoctrination." He says, "No facts and no truths are presented in this podcast. Just nonsensical, delusional, religious spin, and indoctrination." Joey, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to leave this comment on my podcast. In all seriousness, it's funny to me, and I have added Joey to my regular prayer list because my prayer is that people will see that you can be pro-life and recognize that there is a need for abortion recovery without having to be a Christian. This isn't a religious view. It really truly is a moral view. So join me in praying for Joey. And then I'm going to read this one. This is a recent one and it's more positive. So it is titled "Powerful." "This podcast is a great place to start healing. There is no barrier to entry. It's all here. After feeling alone in forbidden grief for so many years, this podcast has illuminated a path forward for me. I could not find one on my own. Thank you, Brittany." I'm not going to say this woman's name, but she knows who she is, and I've actually gotten to chat with her too, one-on-one. What a beautiful person. Thank you so much for leaving that review. If you haven't left a review yet in Apple Podcasts and you have the ability to do so on an Apple device, I would be so grateful if you would do that. You can go to the main show page. So basically when you click on the Abortion Recovery podcast, main feed, you'll see all the episodes, right? So you are going to scroll down a little bit and you're going to see a ratings and reviews section. And there's some stars. And then in purple, it's going to say write a review. So you can write a review for the show. I'm currently sitting at 98 reviews for the podcast. So only 2 away from 100. So I'd be so grateful if you would take some time, just 30 seconds to go leave a review. It helps boost podcasters in the podcasting algorithm. It really truly helps us out a lot. And so I'd be grateful for that. And then if you are listening on Spotify, I would love a review over there too. Sometimes the pro-choicers or people who, like Joey, who disagree with my content, get a hold of the 1-star button over there. And so if you listen over there, I'd be grateful if you could leave a review. I would hope that I've earned a little bit more than 1 star personally, but I'm not going to ask you for a 5-star. I'm just going to ask for whatever you think is appropriate. So thank you in advance if you choose to do that. So today I thought it would be fun to just have a little bit of a life updates episode. Last week, for the first time in well over a year, I actually didn't have an episode come out, and I wanted to just kind of like let you in on what's going on in my life so you know why, because normally I actually plan out all of my podcast content like a month in advance. So I do that because I want to make sure I'm getting content out to you. And I like doing it that way because I'm not really like a news story based podcast, right? You know, we focus on learning how to heal and partner with God to heal our hearts from a past decision or multiple decisions if we've had multiple abortions. And so I don't really have to do a lot of recording in real time because we don't focus on current events a lot. And so it's been really nice the last like 6 months for me to have gotten in this rhythm where I'm planning out our podcast content a full month in advance, doing all of the outlines, doing all of the research, and then I literally record all of those episodes usually in one day. And so it's been really nice to do that. And I had been in a really good rhythm with that. But life has been really nuts in my household, and it's all good things, but it's just been so crazy that during the normal time in February when I would have done this for the month of March, I just didn't get to it. And so, I am actually recording this episode the night before it's coming out, which I don't usually do. I used to do that when I first started the podcast over 3 years ago, but I haven't done that in a long time. I've been really good about planning ahead. So my apologies there. I don't expect that we'll have too much irregularity now going forward because things are getting a little bit more stable here. But yeah, it's been crazy. So what's been going on? Well, the biggest thing that's been going on for us kind of right now that's really taken up a lot of our time and kind of caused my schedule to be really out of whack is our house is on the market. So we decided, we've been talking about this actually for quite some time now, wanting to have a different house, sell our current house, and purchase something newer that maybe has a little more space. And by newer, I mean like newer to us. We weren't necessarily looking to like purchase a brand newly built home. We just wanted more space. Our kids are getting older and we don't have much of a yard where we live currently. And so our desire has been to find something where there is a bit more yard for the kids to explore. And our neighborhood too isn't necessarily like a good neighborhood for the kids. And I don't mean that as in it's unsafe. It's not unsafe. It's just, there's a lot of people who live around us who don't have kids. And so our kids don't really have a lot of friends nearby in our neighborhood. And so we were kind of hoping to move to a neighborhood that looks a little bit more kid friendly and has more space for us. And so at the beginning of the year, we really started talking about that more seriously because we've been in our house now for a little over 5 years. So we've built up some equity and we bought our house actually at a really good time because it's kind of skyrocketed in value since we bought it. It's definitely like the perfect starter home for someone. And so we decided to get pre-approved and did that and then started to really do the work that we needed to do to be able to get it listed. And I was not prepared for how much work that really was going to be, especially for a home like ours that is a starter home. So it's definitely, it's not brand new. It's getting close to 30 years old, which isn't a bad thing. It's just, you've got different things that need to probably be replaced and cleaned up a little bit more and improved on a bit more. So we had to get a brand new garage door, which was not the funnest thing. And just really make sure that we've decluttered it, because it's, I said we wanted more space. So we don't want it to look cluttered when people are looking at it. And so we've packed up a lot of our stuff and just had to do a lot of things to get it ready. My mom ended up taking the kids one weekend for John and I, and we had, I think, like 4 or 5 trips to Menards, and we're just doing all of these things. If you don't know what Menards is, it's kind of like a Midwest staple. It's like a hardware store, but they have a lot of stuff. Like they've got, just Google it. They've got a lot of stuff. And so we had like several trips there and had to kind of improve the landscaping a little bit, which is challenging this time of year in North Dakota, because like even today we had a winter weather advisory and have more snow again, and there's still a lot of ice, and yeah. So needless to say, it has been a lot of work to get our house in the market, but it is officially on the market. We've had several showings. We had an open house today on the day that I'm recording this. And so we are just prayerful that our house will sell quickly, because we are under contract on a new house, a new to us house, which we are very excited about. And it is not in the same town we live in. It is, in a neighboring town that's slightly smaller, but this town is close enough to where we live where you can still like Uber and DoorDash, which we don't do that a lot. My husband John drives Uber as his summer job. He is a teacher during the school year. He's a teacher in the public school system. So it's like close enough where you can still enjoy those amenities, but it's its own town with a population of like less than 10,000 people. So we're really excited about that. And the yard is bigger and the square footage is bigger. And so we're really excited to just move in and make it our home. But of course, we need to sell our current house first. So we're hoping that the timing works out well and that someone buys this house very soon. So if you would join us in prayer for that, we would be very grateful, because we're actually really just hoping it will sell this week. And I know that's really fast, but the market here is like that. It's very competitive right now for houses, especially for like these starter homes that our home is. So like the first time home buyer range, it's very competitive. And so we're hoping that will be in our favor. So that's been kind of one of the biggest things. And then the other thing that has really kind of affected my time, and I'm going to be honest, this might be a little bit triggering for some of you. And so if at this point you no longer want to continue listening, I would understand. But I am going to tell it to you in this episode. I've really prayerfully considered whether I should or not. And I'm going to tell you why, but I'll tell you why after I tell you. So also at the beginning of this year, we really sat down and decided to just really surrender our family to God. The ages of our kids, and I don't like to talk about our kids too much here on the podcast or really honestly on my social media anymore, because I just don't think that the internet is a safe space for kids. I think that it used to be, or maybe it didn't used to be safe, but we used to not really realize the effects of like AI and the dangers of people knowing more details about you. But the ages of our kids are 6 and 4. And my husband would have 4 more kids if I would be on board with that. And so we really have just kind of put off growing our family for a while because, as you know, I've talked about this on the show multiple times, but I had a lot of mental health issues after both of our kids were born. And a lot of that was due to the subject matter of this podcast, which is abortion. My first pregnancy ended in abortion when I was 17. And so, the two children that my husband and I have are absolute beautiful gifts from the Lord, but I felt so guilty that God gave me those gifts. Our children both were unplanned by us. We really didn't. I actually was actively trying to prevent pregnancy with my son. So he was definitely a gift from the Lord. And then with our daughter, we just didn't realize we'd get pregnant that fast after getting married. And so we're so glad for God's timing because we just can't imagine our lives without them. They are just the absolute perfect additions to our family. And my husband has wanted more kids, but I have really struggled with that because I have still had some guilt, you guys. I am a healed person, but we can only be so healed on this side of heaven, right? We're not fully healed until we're with the Lord. And so I struggle with those things sometimes. And I've really struggled with a lot of fear around it too, because I did have some physical complications with my two living children. And so I've just, kind of postponed it and put it off. And finally at the beginning of this year, I really felt like God was wanting me to be obedient in opening up the idea of having more children. And so we surrendered our family to God at the beginning of this year, and very soon after found out that we are having our third baby. And so I am currently, as of recording this, just under 11 weeks pregnant. And we're so excited and we're so thankful. And it's definitely been a different dynamic because, this is my fourth pregnancy, and this is the first pregnancy that I've actually actively planned or, expected. And so I don't know. You guys will have to let me know if you like this type of content. The reason why I've decided to tell you is because I originally thought when I started the podcast that the age group, the common age group of women that would be listening to my show would be in their mid-30s to their early 50s. And that's because there are statistics that show that women typically are in a state of relief from their abortions for about 9 to 10 years. And so I assumed that I probably wouldn't have a lot of listeners that were under the age of 35. And that's actually not true. The largest age group of women who listen to this podcast are actually in their early 20s to their mid 30s, which really surprised me. And I would love to do more research on why that might be. And I honestly think it's because of the prevalence of the abortion pill, because we're seeing a change in that relief gap, right? So the average amount of time is 9 to 10 years, but we're actually seeing that be less because of the abortion pill. And so I have had a lot of clients in that age group. And so they have said to me, I actually like hearing about your kids because I want to have kids again someday. I regret this abortion and I want to have kids, and it gives me hope knowing that you have them. And also too, I think it's important to talk about the different struggles that we have. And so like I said, this being my fourth pregnancy and it being my first pregnancy that I was expecting and hopeful that the test would be positive, it has been a different dynamic. And not necessarily in a good or bad way. It's just been different. And I think that someone listening to this who hasn't had an abortion might be like, oh, wow, that sounds harsh, or, oh, wow, it sounds like she didn't even want her 2 kids. And that's not true at all. I think those of you listening who have experienced the same thing and have had abortions know what I'm talking about, or kind of understand what I'm saying. And so I just want you to know that this is a safe space, and that no matter where you're coming from, there is absolutely no judgment. I have a lot of women who I've connected with who have so many different stories and so many different reasons why they chose abortion, and so many different just origin stories, right? And of course, at the end of the day, this podcast is 100% pro-life, but it's also 100% pro-redemption, and redemption happens when we are able to let the walls down and just fully share our stories, judgment-free, in a safe space. And so that's what this is. And so with that, while we are so excited and really looking forward to meeting this baby, we did just have our first ultrasound last week, and everything is measuring right on time and looking great. So I feel a little bit more confident telling people about it, but it has been challenging. I believe pregnancy is a beautiful thing. I also know that it is hard, and the first trimester has been really difficult for me. I've been pretty sick, definitely having to take some supplemental supplements and medications to make that better, and it has, but the nausea, the exhaustion, it's really been like all day. And so that's kind of another reason why my whole monthly planning of the podcast content didn't happen. I talk about this a little bit, but I also have a business. I'm a freelancer, a freelancing virtual assistant contract worker, and I have 2 really big contracts right now. So I don't have really any smaller contracts at the moment, and I love it. In fact, I really love the 2 that I work with right now. And the one has me working a significant amount of hours a week, which is great. We love it. I love that I can decide my own hours and be there for my kids. We homeschool, so I'm able to homeschool them, and it's been really nice when I've been just really not feeling well. I can really just kind of work around the times that I'm not feeling well, but I haven't had a lot of extra time for volunteering, for serving, and for my own ministry, just because I have been so sick. And so thankfully things are getting better, definitely improving, but it's still, there's some days and just kind of have to rest. And just, I was talking to a friend of mine who doesn't live in the same state that I do, and I told her earlier on, I really haven't told a lot of people, and I actually have decided not to announce it on social media. So yeah, I'm announcing it on my podcast, but I don't intend to make a social media announcement. I'm actually on a social media sabbatical right now anyway for Lent, and I've really just kind of changed how I feel about social media. I don't know. I just am gonna not do that. But I did tell this friend, and I told her, I feel like I'm so behind on everything. And she said, oh my gosh, you are not behind. You are growing a human being. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna not beat myself up about that. But yeah, so that is a little bit more into what is going on in our world. So it has been a fun time, an exciting time. And now that I'm feeling a little bit better, I expect the podcast to be going back to regularly scheduled programming, at least for sure 1 episode per week, until I can get back into a groove with batching episodes again and getting good content out to you, because I don't want to just slap an episode up. That isn't helpful, right? I really want to be intentional about the content that I'm putting out for you and creating for you, because it's important. And so, yeah, that's really all that's going on. Those are like the 2 big things. Nothing else really. We're just really praying for our house to sell and for our baby to be healthy. And yeah, So I would love to know what you think of this episode. So if you want to hear more content like this, I would love if you would just send me an email, hello@brittanypoppy.com. So that's hello at the @ symbol, BRITTANYPOPPE.com. And you can just let me know, yes, I want to hear more about that, or no, I don't. No hard feelings. I won't be offended. And the only reason I am doing it on the Life Updates episode is to let you know why there haven't been a lot of consistencies with the episodes on the show. But also, if it's something that you do want to hear a little bit more about, I won't share about it all the time. And I'm talking pregnancy at this point. But I do think that there's some things that I could really help those of you who are maybe in that stage of life with. But I don't want to do that unless you want to hear it. So please do reach out and let me know if you want that type of content. And then just stay tuned to hearing more episodes. I'm really excited. Our next episode is going to be a guest episode. And this guest was really, really amazing to talk to. So stay tuned to the podcast feed. Make sure you're subscribed and look forward to that one. But I'm going to go ahead and end this one now and probably go take my vitamins and try to get a good night's sleep. So I am going to say a prayer for you before I end the episode. But thank you so much for listening and for praying for us and just for being here. I appreciate it. Dear Heavenly Father, I just want to thank you so much for just this podcast and this opportunity, and Lord, for the opportunity to rest when needed. So Lord, I just pray that you will just cover the woman listening with a hedge of protection against any spiritual warfare, that you will bring her encouragement, that you will bring her the people that she needs in her life to point her toward the healing that you have for her. And so, Lord, I just pray that she feels encouraged and loved, that she knows that this is a safe space. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, beautiful friend. I hope that you found comfort from today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and leave a written review in Apple Podcast or a starred review wherever you're listening? It truly encourages me to know that this podcast is helping you. Also, if you're looking for more support from other women who have walked the same walk as you, please join us in our free Facebook community, Abortion Recovery for Christian Women. Please know that I pray for you daily and I am here for you. I'll meet you back in a few days for another episode, but until then, take care and God bless.